All I want is for you guys to be happy in a relationship. That's it. That's all I want. Today, we're going to talk about arguments. Now, in a relationship, it's healthy and it's normal to argue with your partner. In fact, research has shown that couples that argue effectively have more love and have happier relationships than couples that don't argue or try to ignore serious issues and just sweep it under the rug. So the key is effective arguments, and that's what I'm going to tell you how to do. I'm going to tell you how to argue in a way that can increase the bond and increase the love between you and your partner. I've got 5 tips, then I've also got a bonus tip and some bonus material at the end where I'm going to explain how arguments work and boil it down to just the essentials so you can tailor these tips for your own use. Arguments in a relationship are all very similar. There's really only 3 things that people ever argue about. And when you boil it down and when you pull back the curtains and look behind the mirrors, you can see there's so many similarities and everything is so uniform that if you know the secrets of arguments, then you can figure out how to use them for your own benefit and how to make them better and more constructive in your relationship. Okay, one quick pre-tip before I get into it. When you guys are arguing or you're having heated discussion, don't ever threaten the relationship. Don't use, I'm going to walk out or I'm going to divorce you, I'm going to leave you as one of the weapons in the argument because first of all, that destroys trust more quickly and effectively than anything else. It's actually easier to recover from a cheating situation than it is from a threat to the relationship situation. So just take that off the table. Don't threaten your relationship. Just don't ever do that. All right. Okay, getting into the tips. Tip number 1. Now, this is a hard and fast rule. Very easy to remember. Stick to it, and it's going to help out tremendously. Do not use the words never or always when you're in an argument. Now, it's very tempting to say something like, you never help out with the laundry, or I'm always the one to do the dishes at night. And you don't want to do that. When you use those 2 words, it makes it very personal to your partner. And it makes it seem like an attack on them because you're mischaracterizing them. Whenever you say something never happens or always happens, well, you know what? That's not the case. So that's never true. You're never staying true to the argument because there will always be exceptions and you won't be remembering things correctly. And it's easy to paint your partner in a bad light when you use the words never and always. So just stay away from those. It's not going to help. It's going to make your partner feel worse and put them on the defensive. You want to stay true to the argument, and those type of generalizations with never and always are simply not correct. It's not staying true to the argument. Instead, simply state what it is that you want them to do. Instead of saying something like, you never take me to the movies, say to them, hey, tonight I'd love to go to the movies with you. I really enjoy it. I've already got tickets. The show starts in 2 hours. We can have dinner first. Let's go to the movies. You hear the difference? The first is an attack. The second is an invitation to a fantastic event between the 2 of you. Another example. Instead of saying something like, I'm always the one that does the dishes, say, hey, you know what? It's late. I just got home. Work just drained me. Could you do the dishes tonight? Thank you so much. I'm just exhausted. Did you hear the difference there? In the first scenario, that's an attack. I'm always the one to do the dishes. Well, you're attacking your partner, making them feel like they never do the dishes. And in the second scenario, you're asking them to do what you want, which is help with the dishes in a very polite, warm, soft, gentle way. That's how you should handle that instead of attacking them by saying they never help out with the dishes. That's going to make it personal and it's going to make them feel bad. Tip number 2, and this one is very personal to me. I've worked a lot on this. It's come up in my own life quite a bit, and I've put a lot of thought and effort into getting it right. And if you can perfect this tip, it's going to help out quite a bit. And that is, look at your method of communication. If you're talking in a warm, soft, gentle voice to your partner, that's going to go so much farther than yelling or screaming. If you raise your voice, if you yell at your partner, if you scream at your partner, if you call them names, that makes it more personal. It's an attack again. But it also shows signs of lack of respect, and it's really just a communication breakdown. You shouldn't have to raise your voice to get your point across. Tip number 3, don't pile on the manure. And what I mean by that is, in a fight, we have a tendency to pile on criticism after criticism after criticism. So eventually we're just covering our partner in a huge pile of manure of things we don't like. No one's going to survive that. No one is going to take a giant pile of put on them and be able to have a constructive conversation afterwards. Let me give you an example. Let's say your partner came in late last night and woke you up. Well, okay, so that bothered you. You didn't get as good sleep. You don't feel good. You're talking to your partner about the next day. You let them know that bothered you. But then you go on to say, not only that, but I don't like the way you cook. And I hate the thing you said to my mother about me 2 years ago. And I'm really upset when you don't buy the kids healthy food at the grocery store. And on and on and on, that you're creating this laundry list of just pure crap that you're piling on them that's not relevant to the discussion at hand, but you're using those to make the point that you're very unhappy. So don't do it. This is, again, staying true to the argument. Stick to the one issue at hand, the one issue, and don't pile on the manure with everything else under the sun that you have been meaning to talk to them about, or you've noticed, or just came to your mind in the heat of the moment. Don't pile on the manure. That is so important. Don't do it. Now, before I get to tip number 4, remember at the end of this video, I've got a bonus tip and some additional information about how arguments work. There's really only 3 things that people ever argue about. And then I'm also going to explain more about how arguments work so you can figure it out and you can start to put together the pieces. So instead of arguing with your partner, you can be building a relationship and you can be having a constructive communication instead of a fight. Tip number 4, imagine that there's someone very close to you that you love and you trust and you cherish that can have a completely different interpretation of what just happened than you did. Okay? So when you're in a fight, it's very easy to think, my goodness, I don't like that. Why did my partner do that? They must hate me or they must be out to attack me because what they did made me feel this way. They did this, I feel like this. They meant to do that. I feel horrible because of them, and they were out to get me. Instead, imagine for a moment that someone saw everything that you did, but had a different motive and didn't realize the outcome. So your partner could have done all of those things that you just mentioned or you just witnessed, but not meant that to hurt you. Instead, they may have been thinking that they were helping you. Here's a personal example. This happens to me all the time, and it took me so long to work through this, and I didn't realize what was going on. My partner and I tend to have communication challenges when it comes to making plans. I'll say something like, tonight I would love to stay in and watch a movie with you on the couch. Okay, we'll agree to do that. Then 20 minutes later, my partner will suggest, what if we went out to dinner? Or what if we got some house projects done? And what that causes is me to feel like I have not been heard. I'll think to myself, wait a minute, my partner, I just said what I wanted to my partner. They heard it, agreed, now they're changing their plans. They must have no respect for what I want to do. Why are they doing this? It must be because they don't love me and they just want to do whatever they want. And I get mad. I start to fantasize about their motives, and I get really upset. But what I've learned is if I talk to my partner about it, like, why did you suggest that we do dinner when we'd already agreed to see a movie? I've been getting responses like, well, I wanted to see a movie with you, but I know how much that you enjoy working on house projects, or I know how much you enjoy getting out of the house and going to the restaurant, and I wanted to do something that I thought you would absolutely love, so I suggested that because we don't have much time together, and I wanted to try to make as much of it as we could. Holy smokes, that's completely different from what was going through my head. So again, when you're in the heat of the moment, or even beforehand or even afterwards, it doesn't matter when you do it, just try to put together in your mind a picture of someone that knows you, that loves you, is close to you, that saw the exact same thing going on, but has a different interpretation of the outcome. In other words, they thought it was going to work out differently. This tip will help you to realize that we are all very different people. We all have very different viewpoints, and what we might think is the absolute truth ourselves is quite often not what's going through the other person's head. They've got a different absolute truth that is not something that's malicious. They're not out to get you. They're not acting with malice to try to hurt you. They just simply have a different viewpoint. So keep it in mind. We're different people. Imagine that your partner has a completely different view on the situation and they didn't mean what you think they may have meant. Tip number 5. When you're in an argument, focus on the behavior that bothered you and not the character. If you focus on the character and say your partner is a bad person or they're selfish or they don't have any feelings for you, you're going to make that personal and you're going to put that partner on the defensive. That's not going to help. Instead, focus on the behavior. This is really how you turn a fight into a constructive commentary, a constructive dialogue. Focus on the behavior. Let them know in clear and uncertain terms how that behavior made you feel. Instead of saying something like, you don't care about me. All you care is about yourself. You're a narcissist. You didn't call me when you said you would, and I was worrying about you all night. Say something like, it made me feel very concerned about you, and it made me feel neglected when you didn't call. We had an arrangement where you said you'd call me, and you didn't, and I felt hurt. I felt set aside, and that you didn't have feelings for me. And take it from there. In other words, say, the action you didn't call made me feel however it made you feel. Don't say, you are a character reference, bad character reference, because of, as evidenced by what you did. To make it even more clear, a behavior is something that is done. It is an action done by the person. A character reference. So to make it more clear, and to define it even further so we're not confused about this, the behavior is something that the person did. It's an action. Whereas their character is the identity of the person. That's who the person is. It is the person themselves. So refer to the things they did and not who they are when you're having a fight. Bonus tip time. And this is something that I found out works completely well. I've tried it and it's a fantastic tool in a fight. And it can essentially make the entire argument pivot from heading towards disaster to heading somewhere constructive and helpful for you guys. And that is, tell your partner that you like the person even though you don't like the behavior. In other words, say something like, I love you. I care about you deeply. I really don't like it when you leave the laundry unfolded on the bed for 5 days, or whatever it is. Because what that will do is that will reassure your partner, and that will give them something noble to hang on to. In other words, they will know that you love them. They will cherish that. They will respect you for saying that, and they will want to make this a team effort of getting over it while listening to whatever it is you have to say about their actions. It sort of buffers the impact that the fight has and makes them feel warmth and happiness towards you. They can use this affirmation of affection or love to take responsibility for what it is that they did to hurt you. It gives them something to hold on to while they say, yes, I did do that. I recognize that. I know you love me. I should not have done this. And that will give them a good ground and a good solid place to think about the entire picture logically and rationally. One final post tip before I get into the brass tacks about arguments and strip everything away so you can see how they work. And that is, remember, it is always better to love your spouse than to be right. If you're going to say something in an argument that will make you seem right and jeopardize the love you have for your partner or the love they have for you, don't do it. Don't do it. It's better to love your partner than to be right in an argument. Okay, bonus material time. Now here, I'm going to drill right down to the core of arguments so we can make it very clear what's going on and understand the simple themes that exist in an argument so we can avoid those and improve our relationships over time. And we're going to take a look at what people ever argue about and then 2 common mistakes that everyone tends to make in an argument. Okay, now when it comes down to it, every fight is about one of 3 things. They'll take slightly different forms, they'll have different facts involved, but really it either comes down to a fight about power and control, closeness and care, or respect and recognition. So try this out. The next time you're in an argument or a fight with your partner, afterwards think about it. Was it a power and control issue? Was someone trying to exert power or control over someone else, or did someone resent that? Or was it a closeness and care? In other words, was someone's feelings not being met, your needs not being met because you felt like your partner or you weren't being close or caring about each other enough? Or was it about respect and recognition? Perhaps you did something or your partner did something that they're not being respected for or recognized, or maybe that's just a more of a general theme. In the relationship, you generally don't feel respected or recognized. It will always come down to one of those 3. It will. That's what arguments are about. And once you understand that, the next time you have a fight, you can more quickly get to the bottom of it and figure out what really is going on. You won't have to stare at the window dressing about fights about dishes or fights about laundry. Oh, this is a respect and recognition thing. My partner does a lot of dishes, I don't respect it, or vice versa, whatever. But it'll help you speed up the argument process and get through it much more quickly and much more constructively. Now, two common mistakes that everyone tends to make in an argument. The first is confirmation bias. And what that means is when we say that our partner is behaving in a certain way, we will look only for that thing that they do. And we will ignore everything to the contrary. We'll ignore all evidence to the contrary. We'll say something like, oh, I do the dishes all the time. And your partner will say, but I did them yesterday night, remember, after dinner? And you say, yeah, but that doesn't matter because I did it the night before, the night before, and the night before. And you've thrown out evidence that would contradict your statement. You're looking for confirmation bias. You're biased to your own feelings, and you look for evidence to confirm that. So try not to do it. Try not to be a generalist. Try not to have black and white views about what's going on. The second mistake we make is we all tend to have fundamental attribution errors. And what that means is when something goes wrong in a relationship or our partner does something, they do it because they're a bad person. If we do something wrong in a relationship, we do it because circumstances acted upon us and it's not our fault. So for example, if you show up late to a dinner date with your partner, well, traffic got in the way, your boss wanted you to finish something before you left work. But if they show up late to a dinner date, it's because they're a perpetually late person. They don't understand time and they're always late and it just drives you crazy. So try not to attribute bad character. Again, we're talking about character versus behavior. Try not to attribute character flaws to the other person while at the same time attributing conditional or situational causes to yourself. Eliminate that. Focus only on the behavior. Don't say it's because they're a bad person. Say, this happened. Don't say why it happened, but this happened and that's how you made it feel. Eliminate the fundamental attribution error where you try to make your partner feel like they're a bad person. Just don't do that. It won't help. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I've got another one about the fundamentals of communication so you guys can have an awesome long-term relationship. I'll post a link in the description. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, subscribe so I can continue to bring you more tips about how to have an excellent long-term relationship. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, everyone, take care.